Welcome to the Lone Star Cajun podcast, episode number 8. We have our follow-up guest, my dad, Richie Thibodeaux. And we're going to ask him some pertinent questions today. So thank you guys for tuning in. So of course, he's my dad. He was born and raised in Louisiana like me. Why don't you how are you doing? What do you think about this current COVID epidemic?
No, I mean, I think it's something we've never seen before, and I think it's, I think we'll get through it, I think it's just going to take some time, but, it's definitely interesting to see all the things that have changed, especially, in my workplace and stuff, so, but, you just got to keep taking it one day at a time.
Now, have you seen anything like this or even the type of response this has gotten among the public and something like this in your lifetime?
No. I mean,
what do you think is the closest thing you could surmise?
Well, I mean, we were here for the flood, the big flood, Harvey over here, and we've been through hurricanes in Louisiana. So, I mean, I'd say that's a similar response. Harvey was definitely pretty incredible, to have lived through here. But as far as, this thing encompassing the nation and the world, it's not, something we haven't seen before.
I was pretty young, but would you say 9/11 was the type of public response, sort of hysteria, immediately?
I mean, for me personally, I don't remember. It was shocking to see. I do remember where I was. When it was happening and whatnot. I was home, happened to be home that day, and it was incredible to watch. But again, I think there was a sense of distance. We weren't involved. We weren't in New York. We were far from New York. Now, there are some things around us at the time that could have been considered big targets, and everybody was a little leery, but there was a sense of distance from that. So I don't think it was like this at all.
Was there sort of a period kind of like this epidemic or pandemic where, though, in that time of 9/11 where people kind of like just didn't know what was really going on, or like?
Oh yeah, I mean, even that day I can remember that being when I actually woke up that morning and the first plane had hit already, but the second one hadn't hit yet. And I actually had the TV on and was watching them talk about what had happened. And I actually saw the second plane hit the building behind the guy that was talking. And so at that point, initially they thought it was just an accident. But then when the second plane hit, that's when we all kind of
intentional.
You realized that there had to be more to it, So it was, there was a lot. And still, even at that point, there was time where we didn't really realize what was going on.
And do you think some of the hysteria that went on with the onset of this virus, for example, the toilet paper, what do you think spurred something like that?
I think that's just a chain reaction of people who, they saw one person do it, so they jumped on the bandwagon and did it. And I think I don't think it was a case of overwhelming supply or anything. It's just that stores stock for a certain amount of, purchasing and a certain demand, I guess a way to say it. And the demand just, doubled and tripled or whatever all of a sudden. And that's what created the problem. But, that's just a natural human reaction, I think, is all you saw there.
So you mentioned about your workplace when you were talking about some of the changes this virus has has kind of had effect on. So why don't we just get right into that? So you went to college at the University of Louisiana, is that correct?
Yes, at the time it was Southwestern.
Right, USL, right?
Correct.
Okay. So what was your original choice of career that you wanted to pursue?
Well, I wanted to go to med school.
Okay.
That was because, of course, Pop's a doctor, family practitioner, and I wanted to go to med school, but kind of played around a little bit too much in college and ended up having to make a career adjustment in the middle. So I ended up going into nursing school, and that's how I met your mom and kind of went from there.
And so so you were a nurse for how many years?
10 years. I was a nurse for 10 years. Before anesthesia,
right, yeah.
10 years.
And so what made you kind of decide to make a jump sort of to a higher echelon of nursing?
Well, I had been for 10 years, for about 6.5 of those years, I was an ER nurse, a charge nurse in the emergency room at Abbeville General. And kind of got burnt out on that because it's just really like you were just seeing the same repetitive patients, and it really was more just like a clinic kind of sort of. And I just needed to do something different. So I went work at the Heart Hospital in Lafayette. I actually was recovering people who had bypass surgery and such. And in doing that, I enjoyed the extra monitoring and all the other things that we had to worry about. And there were some friends of mine who were working with me who were going to go off to anesthesia school. And the more I heard them talk about it, the more it sounded like something I'd be interested in.
So how soon in becoming interested in that field did you sort of realize that it was going to require a move away from where you were?
You mean. Yeah, no, that wasn't until the very end.
Of anesthesia school?
Correct, yeah, because your first part of the school is just trying to get through. And when you get into the last, say, 9 months, 8 months or so, that's when you're really starting to look at where, jobs and where you're going to end up. And at the time, that was not long after Katrina. That was only a few years after Katrina had hit New Orleans. And a lot of the New Orleans healthcare people moved to Lafayette due to lack of jobs there, and it sort of flooded the market. So the anesthesia jobs were also affected. So it was few and far between as far as the jobs were concerned.
So they've heard us say it for numerous times, the word. So go ahead and let everybody know in case they're not sure what exactly anesthesia is.
Anesthesia is providing, basically sedation or putting people to sleep for surgeries. Basically, I do put them to sleep, wake them up, or lots of other different kinds of anesthesia. We can do local anesthesia or sedation cases, etc. So
you're administering a set of drugs.
Yeah, most times a set of drugs. They breathe anesthesia gas sometimes. It kind of varies depending on what we're doing.
But you're basically, in a way, you could say you're almost the life support during a surgery.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the one who's actually monitoring the patient. I'm the one who's watching the vital signs, watching the making sure they're ventilating and everything's going okay with them. So yeah, essentially, I'm the one that's kind of keeping an eye on them.
And would you consider yourself an airway expert?
Yeah, I mean, just by nature of what I do for a living.
Okay, so you went to anesthesia school at Texas Christian University, correct?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And you graduated there what year?
December of 2008.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And then, so you graduated. Are you looking for jobs first in Louisiana?
Yeah, actually, where Mom was working at Women's and Children's, I had an offer there. That was the only offer I had gotten while I was still in Louisiana. But we had some friends here who were already living here and working here, and there were openings at the job place that he was at. So we kind of came over here just to check it out and kind of fell in love with the place. So that's kind of what happened.
And was that a move for you? Was it scary for you? Because I mean, we mentioned in the last podcast that Mom had sort of been used to living away from her parents for a time, and you really hadn't had a lot of experience with that. Even, I mean, in college, most of your college, you lived at home. I know you did a semester or two in Monroe, right?
Yeah, I did a semester.
But was that move? How was that move for you? Was it scary at first? What was the transition like?
Yeah, it was because I'd never lived away from my mom and pop, so it was different. It was something to get used to. And I think probably the hardest part of the whole deal was really you, because you took a while to transition to here. You weren't real happy with being here, so that made it hard, to know if we had done the right thing or not. But I think in the long run it worked out all right.
So you are currently still working as a certified registered nurse of anesthesia,
correct?
Okay, CRNA for short.
Yeah.
And how do you like that job as a whole?
I love the job. The job is fun. It's fun being able to help people, take care of people, get them through something that's very scary for just about everybody. And it's that part of it's really fun, just to be able to reassure them and get them through it, and seeing how appreciative they are at the end. When they're awake and in recovery, doing okay.
And what would you say is a pretty standard range of surgery that you might do in a day?
Like the variety, you mean?
Number.
Oh, how many cases do I do a day?
Yeah.
If it's shorter cases, I could do 4 or 5. If I'm down in endoscopy, we could do 8, 9, 10. I've done up to probably 12 or 15 in a day. Those are short little cases. But I've also done days where I've done one single case for the entire day, like a robotic case or something. And hearts. I used to do hearts too, so those can be a while.
Okay, so we talked about your career. So I asked this question to Mom last time. So if you could do one career other than the one you currently are, completely unrelated to the medical field, what career would that be and why?
Probably.
And you can give me a couple if that works better.
Yeah, no, I mean, one of the things I always said I would have gotten into is computers. I would have gotten into some kind of I would have liked to gotten into gaming design, like computer gaming design and stuff like that. I think that would have been really cool to do. That would have probably been the main thing I would have done. Knowing what I know now, granted, I still love my job, but medicine has changed and it always is changing, but it has changed dramatically. So going back on it now, I mean, I'd probably still do it, but if I didn't, it'd probably be something like that in computers.
So maybe you mentioned game designing, so like getting into like actually making and designing games.
Yeah, like video games,
cool.
like what we like to play.
Yeah. Well, since you mentioned that, we'll just go right to that. We both are, I would say, self-described gamers, and we play a variety of shooters and RPG games and other things like that. So you actually, I would say, were gaming. I mean, definitely before my generation, and in a generation where PC gaming was probably more popular than hardcore console gaming.
Oh, well, yeah, back when you were born, around that time.
Right.
Yeah, it was more PC. I was PC gamer.
So what were some of the PC games you were playing at that time?
Well, the first big games that me and Papa and Ronnie and all them started playing was we would play Duke Nukem way back in the day. That was the first person group thing. You had a dial-up server which was called Cali that we all had to dial in at the same moment. So we'd have to get on the telephone and say go, and all try to do it at the same time. That was like really, really archaic back then, and that kind of went to an Unreal Tournament, which I got in. I was actually in a clan with Ronnie for a while, an Unreal Tournament. And then we'd play, like, of course, the early Call of Duties that came out around that time. That's when they started to get there. So, and I did a lot of other stuff as far as like flight simulators, and I like sports games a lot too. So.
Now, we play a lot more console now than we do PC.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the problem with PC gaming to me was the games themselves, the technology was increasing so rapidly that when you buy your PC, within 2 years, you were already behind the curve, and you couldn't run a lot of the bigger, heavier games. So you'd have to increase we would change out our video cards, and we would change out, whatever we could do to try to keep up. But it got to be just so expensive because you're having to buy an entirely new system every couple of years to keep up, So with the consoles, I mean, they changed too, but for the most part, most of them are backward compatible.
Right.
Like I think the new Xbox will be that way too. But, so we were able to play all these games that we keep buying, and it's just an easier way to do it, I find anyway. I'm not as good at it, but...
So for console games like RPGs, like Red Dead Redemption or the Assassin's Creed franchise or things like that, would you say you prefer RPGs like that, or do you prefer a first-person shooter like a Call of Duty or?
I kind of like them equally. Through all the years of gaming, I would have to say the sports games are probably the thing I played the most.
That's true.
Like Madden. I'm even getting into the NBA game. You and I had a good time with that yesterday. So, I'm enjoying that too. But I do like a variety. I like the RPGs. I love, like, when I just want to sit and chill and be not stressed, I'll go play like Red Dead or go play one of the, like you said, Assassin's Creeds, or even what's the one we're playing right now? The Skyrim.
Elder Scrolls Online.
Scrolls.
Yeah,
Yeah, even something like that, because I find it to be a little more relaxing.
So speaking more on the gaming front about you mentioned the sports games. There hasn't been an NCAA football game since 2014, and how has that span of no
it's
NCAA
that's
game
probably always was my all-time favorite game. Matter of fact, we still have the old one upstairs
on the old Xbox.
Yeah, I mean, and it kills me not to have that. I'd give anything to get that back.
There's been several rumors about the game coming back, but nothing concrete.
No, unfortunately not.
Okay, so let's get into some sports. How about that?
Okay.
So, sports and some of your hobbies, because some of your hobbies are sports.
Okay.
So let's just start with, give me 3 places you would like to ski that you've never skied before.
Oh, okay. Anywhere. Anywhere I could go anywhere.
Anywhere.
Well, you guys know that probably one of the main places I'd like to go is Telluride. At some point, I want to ski Telluride.
Colorado.
Yeah, Telluride, Colorado. Kind of out of the way, but I've just heard it's one of the most beautiful places you could ski. I definitely like to go do Tahoe. You've been to Tahoe. I haven't, but I'd like to go to Tahoe. I'd like to go ski there. And honestly, I would like to go... Probably, I'd like to get good enough to where I could go ski one of the, like Whistler or one of the Canadian places up there. They're really notorious for being really nice.
Just taking a step back, what kind of got your interest in skiing? I'm curious about that.
Well, that actually goes back to when I first went with my mom and them. We went when I think it was 81, 82, somewhere around that time.
You were 11, 10, 11?
Yeah, I was about 10 or 11. First time I ever went. We went to Vail, Colorado. I'd never skied before, but I'd always been kind of an outdoorsy kid. We'd go riding in the boats, riding hydrosliding, hydrosliding or kneeboarding or whatever they call it now. But anywho, so I always liked that kind of thing. Well, first time we went to Vail and first time I skied, it was cool, but it hadn't quite got the hooks in me yet. But when Pop and I, for my senior trip, and I was in high school in 1989, we went to Breckenridge, Colorado, and that's when the hooks got set. Pop and I had just skied an entire week together, and I loved it. I fell in love with it at that point.
And from that point, how big of a break was it between that and then when you skied again?
26 years, if I remember correctly. Yeah, because we never convinced your mom to go because she was afraid it was going to be too cold. So.
And she mentioned in the last podcast that with the right equipment, she didn't really feel cold.
You really aren't. It's a different kind of cold.
So what do you find more joy in? Do you find more joy in doing, say, so if you guys don't know the skiing, in terms of the actual runs of skiing, they're categorized into difficulty levels. So a green being a lesser difficulty than, say, a blue or a black and so on. Would you say you prefer to do sort of a picturesque green, or is it more about the challenge for you and doing something more challenging?
No, at my age now, I'm kind of more about the picturesque greens, or like when we went to Keystone the last time, Uncle Ronnie and I had gone, and we went with Micah and them. Of course, Micah and Gavin are more into that kind of thing. And, I can do the little tougher runs, but I'm not as comfortable when I'm pushing my limit. I'm much more comfortable, like, say, school marm and just being able to cruise down, So I would have to say I'm at my age right now, I'm more about trying not to get hurt and just trying to enjoy the ride.
And to tag off of skiing, you've recently kind of gotten into mountain biking.
Well, not yet. I want to. I'd like to get a bike eventually, once all this craziness settles down. Because there's some trails down at Jack Brooks Park that's supposed to look really cool. And it's kind of it's another way to get outdoors, especially in the summer or in the spring, warmer months. And it looks like a lot of fun. I grew up riding dirt bikes when I was a kid, and that was one of my favorite things I ever liked to do when I was riding dirt bikes, was going through the woods, zigzagging through the trees and stuff. So
awesome.
Yep.
Well, we're going to take a little break for sponsorship. I want to thank our sponsor, Anchor, for sponsoring the podcast. Anchor is a place where you can host your podcast, and it offers a number of opportunities to get sponsorships and other great things of that nature. So please check out Anchor. Also, we have a brand new website for the podcast. I will leave that link in the description. I'm sure you noticed the new style of intro we have this week. That'll be the new intro for the podcast. And I'm very excited to share that with you guys. But yes, we have a new website, and that link will be below, and it has everything you need for the podcast episodes. You can get our merchandise link, about us, whatever you need. So the new website is up now, and you can see that. And we have some new merch available in the Teespring shop that you guys can go and check out if you please. But thank you for listening to the podcast, and please continue to do so. So back to the podcast. Okay, so we finished up talking about your career, COVID-19, some of your hobbies regarding skiing and mountain biking. So let's get into some really pertinent questions. Beach or mountains?
Boy, that's a tough one. I mean, growing up and up until recent years, I would have definitely said beach without question. But I think it's because the newness of the mountains, the refamiliarization of being back at the mountains again, because there were so many years where I didn't get to do it, that right now I'm kind of torn between the two, really. I would have to say mountains in the winter and beach in the summer.
Yeah, I mean, not to go back to skiing, but I would probably say mountains myself. I enjoy going skiing, but I also enjoy Gatlinburg in Tennessee and just that too.
Definitely.
Smoky Mountains.
Sure, absolutely.
But I'll just say that for sure. I for sure felt that, especially the first time I went to Keystone, Colorado to ski, I pretty much turned off my phone the whole week and just it kind of feels like you get into another world when you get up there. It's pretty crazy. Do you feel that too?
Oh yeah, no, it's beautiful up there. I mean, it's it's just a whole, like, you see all that snow and everything. It's just gorgeous. It's hard to fathom sometimes with the views and the vistas and the things that you can see. It's just so overwhelming at times. But I do look. That's one thing. I can't wait to be able to ski more with you, because you and I have sort of had a truncated thing there for various reasons. We've only been able to really ski a couple of times together. So, I look forward to doing it again with you one day where we have a longer period of time to do it.
Let's see. Do we want to do that now, or do we want to wait? I mean, it's sort of the same question, but would you rather a log cabin? Or a beach bungalow.
House. I know your mom would definitely say beach house, and that's probably where I would have to lean because of that. But if, like I said, if I could have my way, I'd have a beach house and I'd have a mountain house. I'd split the time.
That's fair enough. So we had our Munchie March Madness episode 2 episodes ago where we ranked fast food places, and Mom commented on that, and I told her that if I had the foresight, I probably would have had her on there with me, but. Right. Just to kind of get your quick opinion, so just to kind of see how we compared. So we'll start with the chicken arena. So basically, the top contenders in the chicken arena were Chick-fil-A, Cane's, Popeyes, and that really was the top of the barrel. Could you see what would you think would come out of for you, like in terms of fast food chicken?
Yeah.
Your go-to.
That's tough because those 3 are really, really good. I would definitely probably. All 3 of those would be like 1A, 1B, 1C kind of thing. But I'd almost have to say Popeyes, but Chick-fil-A would be really close, and then Cane's right behind them. I do like all 3 of them.
We had the sandwiches category. Potbelly was a contender in that. We also counted we counted burritos as wraps, even though some of you wouldn't necessarily count that. But that's another debate that let's just mention it real quick. Let's just quickly highlight this. So my girlfriend is Hispanic, and we of course like Mexican food, both of us.
Yeah.
My family really.
Yep.
And for the longest time, at a Mexican restaurant, if you've been to one, you know that usually there's a dish on the menu called fajitas. And you can get chicken fajitas, you can get beef fajitas, you can get lots of different kinds of fajitas. But we were informed that the fajita, so if you take a tortilla, which usually comes with a fajita, and you add meat and whatever else comes with it to it, and you roll it up and you eat it, that is a taco. A fajita is the meat. The meat is the fajita, not that. And we were instructed that was a taco. But to me, I don't know about to you, but a taco was a hard shell half with ground meat and cheese and whatever else you want to put in it, not a rolled up tortilla.
Yeah, I'd go so far as to say it could even be a soft shell, but it would be open, to me, is what a taco.
Yes.
If you roll it, now you're in burrito territory, I think. But, what do I know? Or enchilada.
Yes. Also, that a taco in a traditional Mexican sense is supposed to be not ground beef, but literal chunks of beef. But anyway, that's a small tangent. But Potbelly, Freebirds, and really Subway was the only other contender. So what do you think of those 3?
Freebirds, I think Freebirds hands down over Subway. Freebirds was very, very surprised.
Yeah, it's really good.
And I actually had wait, what did I say? Freebirds? I meant to say no, Potbelly. Yeah, right. But Freebirds I only recently had, and I was actually quite surprised.
Yeah,
it's really good too. But I'm kind of like you. When you say sandwich, I'm thinking more of like Potbelly subs. Yeah, correct. And then if I want Mexican, I would do like more of the Freebirds.
That's fair.
But if you're trying to ask me which one I like better, that's tough because I would maybe say Freebirds, just only because I really like Mexican food.
Yeah.
So, but man, Potbelly is so good.
Okay, we had our burger category. Some highlights of those was Five Guys, Whataburger, McDonald's. You know the normals, the usual suspects.
Sure.
So, of that, what do you think is the burger that's going to come out of?
No, I mean Five Guys. If you're talking true fast food hamburgers, I've yet to find something better than Five Guys. And like I know I've heard you say too on your podcast, the French fries are just incredible, fresh, so good.
It's true.
So I think it's very hard to beat Five Guys as far as just straight up fast food hamburgers.
And then miscellaneous, we had some things like Panda Express, Sonic, Taco Bell. I'm trying to think what else, but of those three.
It's probably surprised a lot of people, but Taco Hell, man.
Taco Bell, I knew you were going to say that.
Taco Hell is good, man. Good. It might not be good for you, but it's good to eat.
So Popeyes versus Potbelly.
Oof.
I'm sorry, you said Freebirds. Popeyes versus Freebirds.
Yeah, oh man. That's really tough. I'd almost say Popeyes only because for me, Mexican, I crave it, I'll eat it, and then I don't want it again for a little while.
Okay.
Whereas Popeyes, I could eat almost every day.
Okay.
They're good fries there too, by the way.
So Five Guys versus Taco Bell.
Oof. I don't say Five Guys. I mean, it's just to me, it's just a better. I hate to say that, but better quality, I guess, is a way to say it. I don't mean that bad about Taco Bell, but you know what I mean. It's
Popeyes versus Taco Bell. No, I'm sorry, Popeyes versus Five Guys.
Popeyes versus Five Guys. Still Five Guys, probably.
Five Guys.
Just again, because Five Guys to me is just another level.
So Five Guys made it to the final in my bracket, Mom's bracket, and your bracket. So
yeah,
I think that really speaks to
most definitely
Five Guys. Tagging along off of that, you can get one meal, your last meal you're ever going to have. It's going to be an entree, it's going to be a side, and it's going to be a dessert. And I would like to guess your entree.
Okay.
I'm going to guess that your entree is going to be a large pepperoni and ground meat pizza from Elise's.
Pretty much, yeah. I think that'd probably be my go-to.
If you guys don't know, Elise's is a pizza place in Lafayette, Louisiana. Elise's, if you want to sponsor the podcast, that would be awesome.
That'd be awesome.
Send pizza. But yeah, I knew that would be your entree.
Absolutely. Elise's is just...
I don't know what your side and your dessert is.
Ooh. Well, I mean, if you're saying just any kind of side, I've always been a French fry nut, so I'd probably say
Granny's,
homemade French fries. Yeah, Granny's. Yeah. I'd probably say that.
And then a dessert.
Dessert. Probably ice cream. I like a lot of ice cream.
Is there any in particular, or just
Schwann's chocolate?
Okay, Schwann's chocolate. Okay.
And Bluebell vanilla.
Yeah, combined or?
Yeah, I like them together.
Okay. Okay, so on to the next question. Give me a football starting trio of a quarterback, a running back, and a wide receiver. So 3 people, 3 positions that are going to be on your team. You can pick from anyone all time.
Ooh. Anyone all time.
Let's just start position by position. So let's start with wide receiver.
Okay, wide receiver, all-time wide receiver. God.
And it doesn't have to be who you think is the all-time best. It could just be who you want on your team.
Yeah. As much as I hate to say it, I'm trying. Well, I'll tell you what, I would take Thomas for the Saints right now.
Michael Thomas, okay.
But, I mean, it's hard to say, if you're really going all-time, it's hard to argue against Jerry Rice just because of what the guy was able to accomplish. But Michael Thomas is a beast.
He's got good size too. So I mean, if you have one wide receiver, you probably want him to be a decently big guy.
Absolutely.
Okay, let me run through mine too. So quarterback, running back, wide receiver. If I had to pick one wide receiver all time, I would probably go with Calvin Johnson. Because of his size, because of his speed. I think he would be. Yeah, I think he'd be a hard cover.
Yeah, I agree.
Running back. Let's go with running back.
All-time running back. I would probably say, God, man, probably.
Who do you want on your team?
Yeah. I'd probably say. I mean, I love Barry Sanders. I think the guy
Okay.
did things. I actually got to see him in person, and he did things that were just incredible. But I probably would say Walter Payton because he was the all-around package. Now, let me say with a caveat, I think had he had the chance to establish himself, I probably would say Bo Jackson, but I don't think we ever got to really see what he was capable of.
Fair enough.
So I think Walter Payton just because he was proven.
Fair enough. Running back, I would probably have to go with, I would probably, this is tough. I would probably have to go with a prime Adrian Peterson, probably. He had strength, agility, speed. I think I would probably go with a prime Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, he was similar to Peyton. He ran a lot like Walter Payton, just somewhat bigger, I think.
I think that'd be my pick.
Yeah.
I'm just, you know what? I'm going to let you pick two quarterbacks because one is really tough. So I'm going to let you pick two.
Okay, if I can have
a starter and a backup.
Walter. Peyton Manning would be my starter. I would be my first pick probably. Just
Why Peyton Manning?
He just had his knowledge of the game and his prep from how he would prep for the games was just unmatched. I think. I mean, the guy could just do it all, and he made defenses have to adjust for him. He just was such a smart guy and smart quarterback. I always liked that style that he played. Man, and if honestly, I'd pick Drew Brees. I just like Drew. I think he's underrated. I think people don't give him enough credit.
Always.
I think for what he has been able to accomplish is just incredible, even given the players he's had around him. And he's had some decent players, but, he's never had the good players as far as, like, say, Brady or some of these other guys have had around him. But, I like Drew. I really do.
Yeah, Drew's going to be one of mine. I'm not sure if he'll come off the bench or start, but I think my second quarterback would probably be that's tough. I'll say, how about Drew Brees can start and Steve Young can come off the bench?
Steve Young, yeah, that's a good pick. Yeah,
good mobility.
He always like that dual threat.
True dual threat though. He can throw and he can run.
I have to say though, because if I have a wild card, I'd probably pick Brett Favre just because he was so much fun to watch.
Yeah, I thought you would say that.
Yeah, and he was there too, close, but because he was so fun to watch.
Okay, and who's your coach? Who's that coach your team?
Wow. Wow, that's a good question. Honestly, to keep the team together, I'd almost have to go with Sean Payton. But if I was going to go with like an old school kind of coach, like probably like Belichick's hard to argue because I really think his system is just, I think a lot of success of the Patriots is based off of his system.
Shot at Brady.
But I do. I mean, I can't say it. I can't say I don't. But that or like I always did kind of admire like I don't know, like a Jimmy Johnson or like those kinds of guys too. I thought were pretty good. Bill Walsh would be another one too. He was pretty much an innovator for his time too.
Continuing on football questions. So you obviously.
Wait, who are your coaches?
Oh, my coach. Oh,
coach.
Oh.
Let's see who you're gonna say.
I'm gonna probably say Vince Lombardi.
Oh yeah.
Because if you can win multiple Super Bowls with like a 10-play playbook, then you really, I don't know how that happens. So I'm gonna find out how that happens. So, and my backup would probably be Bill Parcells because I think he's well liked, and I don't know, I just heard a lot of good things.
And a lot of the coaches that are out now learned under him.
Piggybacking off of football, so you're obviously a big fan of the University of Louisiana and their football team.
Yeah.
So if you had $1 million for the sole purpose of betting, which would never be the reason you would have $1 million or why you would spend it.
I wouldn't bet it either if I did.
But if you had $1 million solely for the purpose of betting, And you could insert onto the current Louisiana football team, the current team, you could insert one football player of all time, a single player into the starting lineup on offense or defense, if you think that makes a difference, who you had to bet $1 million on that could that could lead the team to a better chance of being undefeated. So what player by themselves would make the biggest difference that could lend?
Like pro or college? Like you can be
any player all time, yes, if you could insert one player. That would give the team the best chance of going undefeated. All time, any player.
Oh, man. I mean,
you had to bet $1 million on it. Whose players? They're just individual talent.
That's a hard question. I mean, I would have said quarterback before this past year, but I think we've got that set, kind of solidified right now. Crazy as it might seem, I might go to the defensive side of the football.
That's why I said that. I was thinking about that too.
I may look for like a,
could you imagine a college lineman like trying to block like a Lawrence Taylor or something?
And I think in this day and age, the way the game is played with these spread offenses and stuff, I think you get a good in rusher. J.J. Watt
or
exactly
inside, but
but somebody who can really put pressure on a quarterback, I think could really be a game changer. I really do. I think our offense is good enough right now, but I think if we could get some kind of a game changer on defense, like I say, edge rusher, who can just wreak havoc, even. What's his face for the Rams would be impressive.
Donald.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, on to basketball. Obviously, I'm a big NBA fan and a big basketball fan. Jordan or LeBron?
We've talked about this. It's close. Like I told you, I don't think that there's a big gap between the two. But I guess I'm biased just because I grew up in the Jordan era. And I'd probably give the edge to Jordan. I think overall he's probably just slightly better. And some of that is just the killer instinct he had too. I think he just had this. I think LeBron is great and phenomenal and just a freak of an athlete. But I think he lacked a little bit of that killer instinct, particularly early in his career.
So let's just start with the player makeup, and then we'll go to the starting five. So, the player makeup. So we're going body parts to assemble a player, the ultimate player. So let's start with arm. So whose shot is your person going to have?
Oh, okay. Oh, so like that. Okay. Wow.
We're making a player here. Whose arms, whose shot is the person going to have?
So how to shoot?
Shooter.
Larry Bird, I think.
Larry Bird's shot.
The best pure shooter.
Larry Bird's shot. Okay.
Curry. I think Curry's close, but I think Bird.
Whose legs? Whose vertical jumping ability? Explosiveness.
Jordan.
Jordan's legs. Bird's arms. Whose head? Whose brain? Whose IQ for the game?
Wow. I'd probably say Jordan, but there's a spot where I think LeBron, he's got a really good knowledge of the court too. I think he does things on the court sometimes that you're just like, wow. Like the one you showed me yesterday where he no-look the pass underneath some guy's legs. That's pretty impressive.
And then finally, who's core? Who's just like grit and just nastiness?
Jordan. I think Jordan had the ultimate competitor.
So we've got Bird's arms, Jordan's legs, Jordan's core, and you said LeBron's head.
Probably, yeah.
Okay. And then we'll say feet. So we'll say quickness, and we'll tie that in with dribbling ability. Whose handle?
Okay. God, that's a tough one too. Probably, man, they got a couple guys that have good handles. Probably, I would say Kyrie or Westbrook are probably one of those two guys. I think for me anyway. I just think they're so explosive.
I would say, for head, I'm gonna go with Magic Johnson.
That's a good one.
For core, just like grit and toughness, I'm gonna go with somebody. I'm gonna go with Gary Payton because he just kind of had like a tough defensive toughness.
He really was. Mm-hmm.
You know what? Nah, I can't do it. I'm gonna go with Jordan. He just was such a tough competitor.
Jordan had an unreal.
Yeah, I gotta go with Jordan. Jordan's core shot. I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go with Stephen Curry's shot.
Yeah, he's hard to argue that.
I think he just has a little more range than Bird. I think he can get out a little farther.
Yeah, he just makes shots that are just ridiculous. Bird could do that.
Plus, it opens up the whole floor because they're so worried about him.
Sure.
So, and then I have legs, jumping ability. I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go with Zion. Really.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
And then dribbling, handling. I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go with Jamal Crawford.
That's a good one too. Yeah, I like that.
So now that we've made up the player, give me your starting five, and we'll start big, go to small. We'll start with center.
Okay. Dang. Well, you kind of convinced me yesterday with Wilt Chamberlain when we were playing on that thing. He's
back down Shaq.
Yeah, he was. Chamberlain was probably one of the first big guys I'd go with.
Okay, Wilt Chamberlain, power forward.
Well,
and feel free. I mean, it's your team. You can have small ball, big ball. You can put LeBron at power. You can put anybody
that's
you
what
want.
I was gonna say. It depends on how you're gonna set it up.
You can set it up however you want.
Okay, so if I wanted to do it, let's see. Dang, that's a tough one too because I'd probably have a Bird and or LeBron. Like LeBron as a power, or both of those as my forwards. Bird and LeBron probably.
Okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
Shooting guard.
Probably Steph Curry, I guess. Or who are you gonna say?
You're not gonna say Jordan?
Oh yeah. No, I was thinking.
What?
No. Shooting guard. Yes. Without a doubt. I was thinking when you said shooting guard, it's just shooter.
Yeah.
Shooter. Yeah, you're right. No, Jordan, definitely Jordan. My God, yes.
Point guard.
And point guard, I'd probably have. I'm gonna throw you a little curve, probably a little bit, but Steve Nash. I always liked the way he played. If I'm going with a point guard, that guy could just do things that's just crazy on a court.
Yeah, I'm gonna start Steve Nash at the point too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start Jordan at shooting guard. I'm gonna start Kevin Durant at the 3 because I think he can shoot like Bird, but he's a little more athletic.
Yeah.
And a little taller. And I'm gonna start LeBron at the 4, and I'm gonna start. I'm probably gonna start Hakeem Olajuwon at center. I think he's the most dynamic big man ever. I think he's probably.
You know who we're forgetting too is Kareem.
Kareem too.
Kind of hard to
unstoppable
not have Kareem
shot. That's true.
That's a tough one.
Okay. Well, I think we've covered just about everything. I appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Sure, you're welcome.
I appreciate you guys watching. And please check out our new website. I hope you like the new intro and the new kind of format of the podcast. There's still more to come. I'm really excited. And I'll just go ahead and tell you guys now that I'm going to sort of hold off on making a lot of new videos on my personal channel and really focus on the production of the podcast because I feel like we can do a lot of big things with that. And I'm really excited to carry that on and maybe have a few more cool guests. So thank you guys for tuning in. And as always, this has been the Lone Star Cajun Podcast. Thank you.